happy to take any questions, Pooja. Yes. Please come here. Yeah, Pooja. No, you carry on. Can we have the standing mics on?
Hello. Ma'am, I have two questions. First one is a comment on the viral retinitis presenting as branch retinal arterial occlusion. Sometimes if the patient is coming to us in the very early phase when the disease is just evolving, and we often don't see the typical tongue-shaped lesions in the periphery. So it's always important to have a good clinical history. Like I have a patient who's under follow-up for last 3 years. He was diagnosed as a BRAO. He was a 40-year-old man, immunocompetent, and referred to cardiologist that the workup was normal. The very next day he came to us for second opinion. The only history was a flu-like illness, and there was some suspicion that no, it could be a simple BRAO. So you should look for some inflammation, like maybe some subtle vitritis, maybe just over the lesion. And if you have a good multimodal imaging, then you can do a OCT scan through that lesion if you see some cells on the vitreoretinal interface or on the FA. Because in my patient, the BRAO and the retinitis lesions were along the inferior temporal arcade only. And sometimes you have to keep, you can keep the differential diagnosis of toxoplasma also, or cat scratch disease. And again, as ma'am said, that we should not wait for the investigations to come. We should start an empirical treatment, maybe of the two most probable diagnoses together. And as the patient follows or the investigations come, you can gradually revise the diagnosis.
Okay. So the question?
Ma'am, question is for the post-fever retinitis, if sometimes we only have the macular edema or the serous detachment at the macula, and with peripapillary retinitis lesions and no serology is coming positive, so is there any experience of giving anti-VEGF?
Padma, post-viral macular edema management, quick. Please come.
The macular edema or the retinitis per se does not require any specific therapy. We observed that spontaneously also they resolve. If they have optic disc involvement, papillitis or retinal vasculitis, then is an indication to start the patient on systemic steroids. Anti-VEGF is also found to be effective in the reduction of the macular edema. We have taken different arms, whether you treated the patient with steroids, antiviral with steroids, without a treatment, and anti-VEGF, all found to be effective in post-febrile after ruling out any specific etiology, especially the DNA group of viruses.
We just have time for one more question. Can we have yours, please?
Can I just add a comment to what she raised?
It's a very basic.
Can I add a comment?
Yeah, sure, quick.
So, as you rightly mentioned, another thing what we need to keep in mind is that it's not always essential that you get the vascular occlusion in the same eye where you are having the viral infection. You have to carefully look on the contralateral eye also. So you may have a subtle underlying inflammation which may be causing a vascular occlusion in the contralateral eye.
Okay, next question, please.
A very basic question. Can we start an antiviral therapy on our own without the help of the internist? And if yes, then what are the precautions that we should be taking?
I think we all understand that antiviral, we do not have the time for internist many times. So whenever you suspect viral, the herpes group, it can be started on your own. It can be IV or it can be oral, and these days we have Van-Gelcyclovir, which can be started. Renal functions need to be done. That's it. It's quite safe. Last question, please. Yeah.
I think this is the right platform,
Sure.
I've been looking for, and from Nepal. Our experience has been recently, I tried to publish this.
Shapu.
No, not quite Shapu, it's a different. Shapu is probably it's a seasonal endophthalmitis. It's the one I think I reported way back in 1978, and still we are getting patient, and the children going blind, and we have not been able to manage it. Now, the other part of the question I want to ask is, I've been looking forward to a forum like this. In our experience, a group of patients, young patients, farmers by profession, young males and females, coming to us with vitritis and snowballs, diagnosed as pars planitis with no systemic disease, does have anyone encounter, intermediate, you want to call it, or pars planitis uveitis, has something to do with the use of pesticides and fertilizers. And I thought they are responsible because we are seeing young people, farmers by profession, and they usually resolve with subtenon steroids and topical, but basically subtenons, My question is,
Yeah,
is there
is
any
it
experience
yeah.
of pars planitis or intermediate uveitis, you want to call it, with the use of pesticides
Dr.
and
Biswas.
fertilizers? Thank you.
So there is no study like that
There's no
at
study.
the present time. I think it's still a conjectural stage, and I'm not sure that it can cause.
With
But
smoking, yes. I mean, not the direct evidence, but smoking does increase the risk, but never heard of pesticides.
One
There
can
is
do a
some,
blood test to see the levels and do a study.
Somebody
Just 5-10 patients will be enough.
Absolutely.
we have found infectious agents in granulomatous intermediate uveitis, spillover anti-uveitis from the PCR study, the aqueous fluid, Mycobacterium tuberculosis DNA.
I think we can discuss your problem outside the hall probably.
But I have looked into it and I
Of
found
course.
one study way back somewhere, role of pesticides
Yeah,
and
we will just
fertilizers,
discuss that out.
in sarcoidosis. There was a
We will
case
just look
mentioned.
at it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you guys for the overwhelming response to the uveitis symposium. Thanks a ton.